Okay. So I just want to call the meeting to order. And I'll just go through who we have on the phone. We've got Laura Robertson, Amy Hawansky, John Marr, Amanda Matuzik, Chris Zimmerman, and myself, Carol Carey. And Amy Lamena just joined. So great. Thanks for joining, Amy. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from April 14th. Did anyone have any comments from those meeting minutes?
I had just one.
Okay,
John.
comment.
Page 2, line 62. The sentence said, because of it is a rare and beautiful tree. I think we want to get rid of the word of.
Yep, because it is a rare, beautiful tree. Okay. Anything else, John?
That's all I found.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
No.
No comments from me.
No comments from you. Okay, Chris. So does somebody want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Amy Lamena. And anyone want to second it?
I'll second it.
Amanda seconds it. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, great. So the meeting minutes from last month have been approved. Privilege of the floor, Laura, I don't think we have anything. I think in the new business, I'll bring up about well, you have it there, the Shoprite Plaza Walk through, the comment from Melissa McKinnon that I wanted to make sure we just...
So that's actually separate. You could bring Melissa's comment up under privilege of the floor. I didn't get a specific email, but Melissa did express, concern about the landscaping at Shoprite, if you just want to summarize.
Sure. So she's expressed...
Just, Carol?
Yeah?
Carol, quick point of order. Do we have... I was just trying to get a better understanding of that. We're voting and stuff, but I just didn't know, do we have enough people for our quorum?
We do.
Okay, good. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that that was a check before we move forward with voting on items. Thank you.
Yep. So on the privilege of the floor, Laura and I received an email from Melissa McKinnon, who used to be on the Tree Council, expressing concern about the dead trees at Shoprite Plaza. And I think she even mentioned CVS and Target. But she was planning to write a letter to the editor about that and wanted to know if the Tree Council could do anything. And so Laura reached back out to her and told her what she has been doing, that you have engaged with the Shoprite Plaza people, right, Laura? You've at least been reaching out to them. So maybe you can describe the actions that have been taken. Oops, I think you're on mute, Laura.
Been a while. The first item on our agenda is, so Shoprite Plaza is broken into 3 phases. The first item on our agenda is us actually being requested and working with the 3rd phase for replanting. So that item, we can get into it, is for a Tree Council walkthrough on that phase. The first phase is sort of like the Starbucks Dollar Tree area. And that one is kind of the next one that I'm going to work on because they're asking for some improvements. And so I'll go find the landscaping plan for that and start working with them on that. And then the last phase is the Shoprite proper parking lot in front of Shoprite. And I have mentioned it to them, but I haven't really started pushing them yet, but I'm kind of doing it in phases. So we're working on the first phase. The second phase is coming up shortly, and then once we finish those 2, then I'll start working on Shoprite.
Okay.
Which has still a decent amount of trees in front of it.
So does that kind of segue into our discussion item on the Shoprite Plaza walkthrough? Is what do you need us to do for that?
Yeah, so I will see if I can find a slightly more updated plan than this. This may end up being the adopted one. It's slightly different than what is there. If you guys know this plaza pretty well, right here like where it's showing these 5 trees, like this parking is actually shifted so that it's like parallel to this parking. So like this green space here is actually over here, but it's probably very, very close. And where we want to work with them is they had a lot of ash trees die. So we talked about this before. There's this whole line up here. Up here's not loading. This whole line of trees up here got taken down. There's a line of trees over here that got taken down. There's a crabapple tree that's like fallen in front of the Shoprite sign, although it's flowering beautifully. Something happened to it. So what they're requesting, because they want to put a Chase Bank ATM here, and the planning board's going to tell them that they have to refresh all of their landscaping in order to get approvals. So one of the only outstanding items they have right now is to meet with the tree council. They will be replanting the trees here, so it's just a matter of walking through, making sure that all the ones that should be replaced have been removed already. I think they did in this section of the plaza remove most of the trees that died. That's not true of the other sections. But so a walkthrough to make sure that all the dead trees are gone, and then identifying on the plan where they need to replant all of the trees, and then giving them suggestions for replanting.
Okay, so this is the plan that we're going to go with, is what you have shown, and you want us to do a walkthrough and identify that they've removed all the trees and then identify new ones.
Yeah, just give them suggested species that they can use to replant in these areas. Mm-hmm.
What's the timing on this? How soon do you need us to do this?
So they want to go back before the planning board, not this Monday, but next Monday. So if we could do it next week, that would be ideal. But if we can't do it in that week, the planning board can refer them for final approval to the tree council. It'd be nicer if we could do it this next week if you guys have availability, though.
Does anybody have a night in which, can we try to pick a night for next week?
If we're able, and please don't choose around me. I acknowledge that April and May are my flat out crazy months. But I would like to participate on this one. And if it's okay, if you're able, if we could do something at 6:30 or later, but I acknowledge that that's getting late. And I'm also available on Fridays.
So would people be available at 6:30? I mean, it is still light out at this time of year. A night next week.
Yeah, I could try to. This is Chris. I could try to be available, and I would just propose that we, work to come up with a, I guess work with Shoprite as well as a landscape designer to come up with a comprehensive plan, because this is potentially a opportunity to, as we've talked about, improve the aesthetics and landscaping within a core part of Niska, essentially part of downtown Niska. So I think that, we should strive towards coming up with a, comprehensive, holistic plan. It sounds like there's 3 phases. Will it be addressed in 3 phases, Laura?
Yeah, so the complicating thing about Shoprite Plaza is it has 3 independent owners that don't talk with each other. So, but I don't disagree. A comprehensive plan for all of the areas, it makes a lot of sense. We are only able to meet this week with one of the owners, which is at the far end, closer to Town Hall. But, while we're there, we can show them what they need to do. And I mean, if we're out there already, we could walk the rest of the plaza, and then that would make it easy for us to just give maps for the remaining 2, and I can work on those in sections.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need that much more work to do it that way.
So what night would work? Go ahead, Chris.
Do they have a landscaping firm that they're working with?
I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's Chase Bank is working with the landowners to make sure that all of the planning board conditions are satisfied, and the planning board's brought up the trees with them multiple times. So
Right.
I don't know if they'll bring a landscaper or not, but I mean, eventually they'll have to use them. I don't know if they have a maintenance crew, so I don't know if their maintenance crew would do it or not. But we could invite them, because I know just remembering now, one of the other I think complaints Melissa had is that they're volcano mulching after they plant them, so it would be good to talk to them about that too.
Right. Yeah, I guess I was like a designer is what I was trying to get a better understanding of. If they had a landscape designer that they were working with.
So just to set expectations, I don't think they have a landscape designer that they're working with. I think that they're willing to replace the things that have died on the landscaping plan that was approved for the, for the initial phasing. And obviously they can't just replant ash trees because they would just die again. So some of the species are going to have to be changed out. But I don't think that they'll, wow everybody with a new unveiling of beautiful landscaping. I think they'll put back what they have to put back. Just so we know. I mean, I would love for them to do that, but probably not.
But I think
it sounds like
even with the 3 different owners, if we could have, as we do these phase projects, we have some sort of coordination, or kind of, if we plant crab apples here, let's plant crab apple, to keep a continual theme kind of going.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I can pull the landscaping for the other 2 phases, and we can have, all 3, and, maybe we meet there half an hour before we scheduled to meet with the people, I'm sure they can do a 7:00 meeting if we can be there at 6:30, and then we can kind of mark all the dead trees that we see and kind of think about things that could be replaced, and then meet with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura, when you and Carol and I met earlier over at the hardware store, that worked well to meet early and kind of have a chance to talk before we have a meeting with them.
Yeah, the only night I can't do is Wednesday or maybe Friday too.
And what about Monday or Tuesday next week?
I can do those.
I could do Tuesday, but not Monday.
Okay. Chris, are you available Tuesday?
I'm not sure about Tuesday. Actually, Monday would be better for me. But I might be able to rearrange my schedule. So we could just see, if Tuesday is going to be work for everybody else, then I might be able to change my schedule if need be.
We could offer both days to the developer, because one of them might not work for them too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, I guess, just to note, it sounds like phase 2 is the outward facing piece of property along Balltown Road, which would then be potentially most visible and fit in with our kind of what we've discussed as kind of a more comprehensive plan for kind of the storefronts along Balltown. So which ties into the hardware store, which was already mentioned just earlier.
And there's one other thing we have to be concerned with. Over the years, I've been watching, just because, I shop in there and I'm curious and I track the health of trees for fun. And there's been some significant issues, I believe, with salt. So, we salting of the parking lot, and then that all gets picked up in the snow, and then that snow gets dumped right on top of the trees. And I actually have pictures of snow load, like 12 feet high on top of those trees. And that is going to be a stressor. I'm not saying it's the single cause of death, but I'm saying it's a significant stressor on those trees, and perhaps may have contributed to their decline. So we want to be aware of that, and suggest maybe they don't put all the snow there. They work with their snowplow companies, or we try to pick trees that have better salt tolerance.
Okay. So to wrap up, it sounds like we're going to reach back out to them for Monday or Tuesday at 6:30 and see which one. And if we could get as many people from the Tree Council to go that night, because it is kind of the center of town again, and they do have a lot of trees. So it'd be nice to make sure that we we plant the trees that we want. It's a chance to have our input taken. So,
And talk to them hopefully about things like volcano mulching and salting.
you're right, exactly. And also, like you said, Laura, so whenever we set it, we'd like to meet a half an hour early so we could go over the plans and again try to get some coordination. So, okay. Anything else on the Shoprite Plaza? Then I guess we move on to the planning projects, and the GE tree planting is the next one, Laura.
Yeah, so there isn't really too much action here. It's just kind of a follow-up. So the memos that we sent to GE from the site walkthrough that you guys had are attached to your packets. That's the proposed areas of screening for the GE buildings. They didn't object to anything, so I think they're moving forward with their landscaper on a plan related to those suggestions. I thought
Okay.
it went very well. They've been good to work with.
Okay. So there's nothing that we need to do with that.
Nope, that's just an update.
Okay. Good.
Eastern Parkway is also an update. I didn't put his email in here, but he basically acknowledged all the comments and said they don't really have an issue with any of them. This is a Amy question. They're substituting the Prunus snow goose for Malus snowdrift, but they'll be sure to specify semi-dwarf rootstock so the trees don't grow more than 15 feet. The only thing they couldn't do was put a second cherry tree on that far side, which we had already identified. Potentially there was too much utilities and they think there's too many utilities. So we sort of identified that as a possible problem when we made that suggestion. So that's fine. And then the other one is that they would substitute for inkberry Lex Messeria, Little Rascal. Because we told them that was too much.
Didn't they word that incorrectly? They said, am I misreading this? We will substitute Ilex glabra for Ilex meservae. Shouldn't it be the other way around?
They're taking the inkberry away and doing the Little Rascal.
Am I being stupid and reading this wrong? We will substitute the Ilex. Is that our words or their words?
That's their word. So they'll take the inkberry away for a Little Rascal.
But that's not what they're saying. They're saying we're going to substitute the Ilex inkberry for the Little Rascal. It should be worded the other way. Am I?
I don't know if you can read that both ways or not. but if you read our comment, it says swap the inkberry with something more hardy. And so they're you know what I mean? So they're swapping the inkberry for the Little Rascal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Copy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, so that's that one.
Okay. Rivers Ledge.
Rivers Ledge. This is the memo we sent to Rivers Ledge. They were supposed to have a finalized landscaping plan for our meeting tonight, but they didn't get it. So, if I have, as soon as I get it, I'll send it to you guys on email. I mean, he did say that they received this and that they took all the Norway maples off of their plans. That they are going to add. Essentially, they're gonna add, the landscaping along the parking lots and places where Carol and I talked about adding it. They don't want to substitute the boxwoods. They would rather replant them. One of the substitute deer don't eat boxwood. I don't know. They don't want to substitute the boxwoods. I told them all about the disease and they said that they'll monitor them and they want to keep them healthy and they love boxwoods. And then they are taking some daylilies out, but essentially they're just halving the daylilies and then adding black-eyed Susans.
We tried.
So these are the areas where we want them to add more landscaping, which were just included in the memo. They cleared a little bit more than they were, here. So add trees there. And then these are all the areas on the parking lots where, the headlights would kind of shine out to the river. I think you can zoom in on these. So yeah, they're circled, and they're gonna do smaller plantings and then maybe some bigger trees too. So they're gonna get all of that. And I talked to the site guy about it as well, but they're supposed to get all of that and put it on a plan for us shortly.
Okay, Laura, 2 questions. So the ones with the headlights are going to do conifers there to try to
Yeah,
shield it?
and smaller like bushes to catch the headlights. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean year round, conifers so that
Yeah, I think
Mm.
did we put that in the memo?
I think that was our intent. And then somebody had said that they were already planting, remember, Laura?
Yes, yes. They have put
Without our approval.
right, I mean, they are following the planting plan that they submitted, but they haven't updated their final plan. I did go out there to see how much planting they've done. It's not extensive, but they did do the foundation plantings for like 3 of the buildings. So
Oh,
they'll
and is it going with our plan that they're doing? I mean, with
so
our
they
recommendation?
they're just doing the foundation plantings around the buildings. So I mean, it's not going against anything that we've said. There's nothing on there that we objected to, but they haven't done any trees really, except for like the little ones right along the bottoms of the of the buildings. Like there's some small things there, like some birches and some pyramidal oaks and things like that. But they haven't gotten to the like bulk of what we're talking about with the landscaping, like the parking spots and stuff like that. They haven't even started that.
And they're not going to until they send us the final plan and we approve it, correct?
They're not supposed to. If they put it in and we don't approve it, they'll have to take it out.
Okay, because it seemed like they were jumping the gun a little bit sometimes.
Yes, agreed.
Mhm.
But I checked out. I walked around one of the buildings just to see if it matches their plans for the foundation plans. They haven't really done extensive landscaping out there yet, though. It looks greener because they rolled outside.
Well, and also you had mentioned there were like several plans and they weren't consolidated, and so it was hard to kind of look at one like overall plan. Have they corrected that, Laura?
Well, that's what I told them they needed to do for this
Okay.
meeting. It's a lot of work. It's probably why they didn't make this meeting. But that's their next step. I mean, for a different matter, on the park, I was out there talking to their site manager, and he confirmed that they are working on landscaping the ends of the parking spots. So, I mean, it's definitely being worked on. I just need them to put it in a plan.
Mhm.
They're design builds, so they like to build it based on comments, but I told them in this case it's important that we have a plan. So they have acknowledged.
Okay. Any other questions from folks on the River's Ledge?
I was just going to get back to Carl's point. I was reading the memo about the additional plant. It says additional plantings should be added where parking spots or access roads face towards the Mohawk River to block headlights from shining on the water. Screening could be bushes or grasses.
Yeah, it
and/or
doesn't say
multi-stem
evergreen.
trees. Yeah, it doesn't say, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll follow up to an email with them that we were suggesting evergreens.
Yeah, because I know that was a big issue, and I think there was a letter to the editor, et cetera, from the folks across the river that, there isn't enough shielding for the headlights that are shining across the river, and the conifers would be the best way to do that.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. That's why I circled all those areas on that map.
Okay. And so you'll make sure that they'll do that and not just plant grasses, right, Laura? I mean,
I will.
Okay.
I will email them at the end of this meeting that that should have been worded as evergreens. But I mean, it can be grasses and evergreens because grasses are very thick. In the summers, falls, and spring. Well, not so much the spring, but in summer and fall, and sometimes even winter, depending on the grass. But that conifers are the most sort of valuable plantings there.
Yeah, I'm just noticing they're building a house next door to us, and in the winter you can really see it, because we don't have conifers. But in the summer with the honeysuckle and everything else, it's more shielded. But I think the conifers would be the way to go. So.
Mhm.
Okay, Trinity Baptist.
Yeah, so Trinity Baptist is also just the memo of our site walk. I thought we had a good site walk with him. Carol and Jonathan were there.
Mhm.
And I think the main points were that we kind of identified areas where they can replant because of taking trees down. And we identified that there were some really old, cool white pines, and he agreed to leave them. So that's in that memo.
Okay.
Those just updates. You
Okay.
guys worked really hard on these projects, so I figured I would put them in the packet so you could see what is coming of them.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. So that's all for the planning projects right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So the big one that we want to do is I'll set that meeting up for next week.
Okay. So next is reports, public outreach. We had the Arbor Day event, which I think was very successful. I think we had more people this year than any year, and the parking worked out okay. We didn't have long lines. And thank you everyone who came and helped. We really needed everybody because there was a real rush there at the beginning. So I appreciate everybody helping, and I only heard positive comments. If anybody knows of anything that we should do differently for the next time, I'd love to hear, and other comments as to how people thought it went.
I don't know what the answer is, but at the very beginning, it was a little awkward. We're constantly telling people, no, we can't give you a tree yet. No, we can't give you a tree yet. So if there's some way of holding them back until the official start time.
Well, and I think also when the town supervisor was planting the tree, nobody would get out of line.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
if we could figure out a better way to do that, but that's the only thing that I noticed. What about other folks?
Did we end up giving away all the trees? Because I know that was one thing. Some people wanted multiple trees, but we limited them initially to one. Was that fine? Did that work out?
It did. After at around 12:30, we let people take a second one if they came back.
Okay.
So
Okay.
by 1:00 we didn't have any left.
Great. So that seemed to be the right messaging. Is that approximately right 12:30 or whatnot is when we could give people the option of a second tree. So good. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah. And the booths, the people who attended from the various organizations seemed to really like it. I followed up with each group afterwards, and they all said, they'd like to do it again, and they, appreciated being invited. So that's good. And Laura, thanks for the Girl Scouts helping, both prepping the trees and with the activity. I think the kids really enjoyed the activity. Every time I looked over in the gazebo, there were a lot of people in there doing stuff. So
Yes. The gazebo also had a rush.
Mhm.
Yes, it did.
so so I think the location worked out, and I think the event worked out. I think it was our best one yet, to be honest. So thanks again. So the only other thing with the public, well, two other things with the public outreach subcommittee. We have the photo contest going, which is until the end of May. I think we do need to send something else out because we've only gotten 4 entries so far. But we have to, I think if we could publicize what the prizes were going to be, that may help entice folks. So Laura, did we have any additional information from the town supervisor on that? Whoops, you're on mute again.
I just pulled up my computer to send an email to the comptroller about it. I still don't have a final answer on that. Sorry.
Okay. So if not, we had agreed that we would donate the money.
Yeah.
So do we know what we want to do for prizes? Gift cards or, gift cards from local businesses, or, a gift card from Target for the kids, something like that.
I like a gift card from Target for the kids because I know my kid loves Target, and there's also a Target in Niska,
Right.
Mhm.
which is
Exactly.
nice. Even though it's not a small business, at least there's a Target in Niska.
Mhm.
But then, I think that if we can do our businesses, that would be better than like an Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this time, if we give them the money, we can just get a gift certificate from Uncle Rico's or whatever we decide. So,
Carol, in an email a while back, you mentioned some new establishments in Niska that some new restaurant you mentioned, I think, or something when you were talking about presents.
well, the
Prizes.
Broken Inn, although Laura says they only take cash.
Yeah,
But
I
there-
can ask him if he does gift certificates. I don't know. If he only does cash, I don't know how that works.
Mhm.
I haven't been there
Right.
yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess ideally, that's what I was trying to think of. But like, I guess the stores that are on Union are technically right in Schenectady, but ideally to go with local businesses would be ideal. So that's why I do like the idea of the Broken Inn for ice cream, or I'm just trying to think of what other local businesses that would be advantageous. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
The co-op is right there, so.
Yeah, and there is a new business in Upper Union, whiskey business, which is a new bakery. I don't know if people would want
You're
that.
muted, Amy Lamana.
They're good.
What's that? What was that,
I
John?
was, I was like agreeing, and I'm like, yeah, no, they're good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Other than that, it's yummy. I really have nothing productive to add at this moment, but I'm happy to, hit up businesses if we decide who we're hitting up and some talking points, I will go continue talking to them until they give me something to leave.
I mean, we can. I like the idea of the Broken Inn and the bakery.
Okay. Now one is 12 to 18, so we have to, I think the target would be for the young kids. I think
Yeah.
either the Broken Inn or the whiskey business could be adults, but the 12 to 18, maybe we do Uncle Rico's Pizza again for the 12 to 18-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what else, but
My daughter likes Uncle Rico's.
so that's the second thing. And hopefully we'll get a lot of entries and that the trees hold out. The third is Niska Day. Now, I don't think we've done anything for Niska Day yet. Have we, Laura, like even applied for a booth?
No.
So I don't know what people's thoughts were. I think we were kind of, wrapped up with Arbor Day, and wanted
What
to
day
get,
is Niska Day this year?
it's soon.
It's the 21st.
Of
And-
this month?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I
Oh.
apologize. I can't do anything on that day. I am doing a 5K with my daughter. So
Yeah, and I'm not going to be around either. Unfortunately, I have out of town guests and we're going on a little trip.
One of my
there-
sons.
I'm not
has-
going to be around either. So
and for the record, it's okay if we miss a
Okay.
Niska Day here or there. Like, we worked really hard on Arbor Day and it was super successful. If we miss a Niska Day, I don't think we're being a bad committee. Just for the record. I know I can't help with it really, so it would be up to you guys.
I signed my son up for a workshop at SLOC, so other than drop off and pick up, I'm pretty free that day, and I can always make the teenager work.
Mhm.
But
And
if-
I don't even know the time frame that they have the booths. Does any?
not a clue.
Do you want to do that, Amy, or do you want to have a nice Saturday off? Because you're probably gonna be the only one there. Sounds like,
Yeah.
and I don't know
Well-
that we have materials really prepped either.
If we don't have it prepped and we don't have a reason to do it, especially after such a big hit of an Arbor Day, I'm okay with skipping it. I felt bad between planning to be out of town and then winding up having COVID, totally missing everything to do with Arbor Day. The first
Aw.
morning of my vacation, I woke up, went, hey, I don't feel well. Missed Easter,
that's-
missed everything.
that's
So
too
yeah,
bad.
I feel remiss, but if you can find a different way for me to be useful, I will do that instead.
Well, and the other thing is, I don't know if they're going to do this again this summer, but they had, we had a booth at the farmer's market
Hmm.
last year. And
Yeah.
so that's
can help with
another
that.
thing that could be coming up.
I did reach out to her. She did say she would like us to have a booth at the farmers market again.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I mean, that's, if we miss Niska Day, now granted, there's more people at Niska Day, but we'd still be able to reach out to people. And we just had over 300 people or handed out 300 trees. So we had a lot of people at Arbor Day. So,
And if we do like a composting day for the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, we could also have the Tree Council, and CAC or whatever be there too.
yeah. And we've talked about more public outreach training, which is something now that we're kind of through with Arbor Day and can take a breath, we can think about that. I'll schedule another public outreach subcommittee meeting soon. Oh, and I did just, Laura, is it okay to say that at Arbor Day, the town supervisor came over and she was very excited that we had a fall photo contest and wanted to see the entries and wants to put some up on her wall in her office and wants to see the spring entries because she's interested in maybe changing them out each season or seeing what those entries are. So, if that happens, I think, again, that would be nice publicity.
Yeah, maybe we could put that in the email blast. Like, here's the prizes, and by the way, the supervisor might want to, frame the winners in her office. It would be cool.
Yeah.
That's
I thought
that's
that
really
was-
good. I love the idea of, or like even if we had them on display at town hall for a while or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really nice. Yeah,
Could I make a comment about that?
sure.
I think and this is not coming from me on either side, Republican, Democrat, I think to be 100% neutral, it might be better to have them on display in the boardroom. You know how the art displays are often in there. I just remember previously with there's a plein air painting day, and previously the contest winners for that, their image was used as the supervisor's Christmas card, and it caused some controversy because, hey, what if you were not in alignment with the supervisor? It was an awkward, maybe is the word, an awkward prize. So maybe instead of having it in the supervisor's office to remain completely neutral, it's in the boardroom on display.
So, Amy, we can bring that up, but she actually wanted them in her office. It wasn't like a reward. So maybe we don't put it like in the email blast if that's awkward.
We
Mhm.
can put it like as a reward that they'll be on display in town hall, maybe in a public space. And then if the supervisor wants to nick a couple of them to put in the office on a rotational basis, like, after the display period, like, oh, look, they'll be on display for the month of
Yeah.
insert month here.
Yeah, I think maybe, if we don't say it, but there's no, if the town supervisor wants some painting, some photos in her office, I don't see how we can say no. But maybe we make it more public. I know they've had a
Well, I
lot
guess
of art
does
in the town hall.
Yeah, does the town have what is the, general policy about, I don't know, there's like gifts and whatnot, like if it doesn't violate the current, town policy in regards to favor or benefit or anything like that, it seems like it would be okay, right? So the town must have some guidance around this.
Yeah, we do. I
Right.
mean, it's not meant to be political at all, and I'm not, like trying to squash anybody at all. She just liked the pictures so much that she wanted them in her office. But if that is in any way, shape, or form like offensive to somebody, like, I guess we don't have to make a big deal out of it. But it is really nice that she liked the pictures so much that she wanted them in her office. Like, I think that's
And I think it's different just putting it in her office versus sending out a holiday card to the town using it. So
I mean,
And I think you could just be
point is,
receptive of like what, what's the appropriate use for this? I mean, you could even just tell her. I think she'd be receptive to say, look, this happened in the past. Just be aware of it. We're excited that you're excited, but just be aware of utilizing these images beyond just having them in your office.
Although we have specifically stated in the photo contest that we can use them any way we want.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
But that's,
good.
that's the tree council, not the, town supervisor necessarily.
It's true. I mean, I guess like if we wanted to say they'll be on display in town hall, they should be on a display in town hall where anybody could walk in and see them.
Mhm.
But like, and that's something that we could point out to the supervisor if, she wanted. I think she really liked the pictures. Like Jonathan sent them to her and she went through all of them.
And please don't mistake my comments as anything negative against the supervisor of having, energy around this wonderful contest. I just didn't want there to be any controversy in the future.
John, you were good.
I think it'd be kind of neat if you walk into Niska Town Hall and there's a big display about how we're a tree city, USA, and we're so proud of our trees. Here are winning tree photo contests and display that. It's kind of like a bigger display about Niskayuna being a real tree city.
Yeah, and we can do that too. And I think she would be very supportive of that as well. Like, I don't think that would be the end all. If we put them because I know like the pesticide free program, took over that one little box when you come in. There's still a couple more boxes. Like you could put really pretty banner with a bunch of photos and, some tree council stuff. Like I definitely think that that's a possibility that would work too.
Okay. Well, more to come on that then. But that's all we had for the public outreach. How about the tree inventory and tree master plan, Chris?
Yeah, I don't have any updates, and so no updates. And I do have to jump off. Sorry about that. So good to hear everybody, and talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
He did remind me of something. I know this is out of order. Why don't we do the tree planting? But then I did want to just circle back. Chris did mention to me at Arbor Day that some people wanted street trees, and they had heard from the highway department that it was 18 months before they could get a street tree. And so I think that's something that we need to.
Yeah. Why is it 18 months? That doesn't sound right. Especially if we have to use our budget.
Yeah, I will look into that. Like Carol did mention that to me. I'm not sure where that information is coming from, but sometimes when they take a tree down, they do have a turnover time before they go back and plant it, like having to do with the stump doing something or something. So I don't know exactly what the situation is when they're being told 18 months, but I will look into that because I think the highway department generally feels as though they're caught up with the list. So if somebody's saying, if they're being told 18 months, I'm not sure if that's because of a specific situation on their property. Like, I think there is they do okay, if they take down a huge silver maple, they wait before they go back and plant. I don't know. I will look into that. Why that's
and I wish I had thought about this when Chris was still on the phone, because he was the one who brought it up and I think had more information. So maybe, we just make sure we bring it up next month also.
Yeah, I'll put that I can put it on the agenda and try and reach out there.
Okay.
Do we know the person's name and phone number who requested that free?
Again, Chris was the one who just mentioned it while we were, carrying tables and stuff. So I think, I can follow up with them and find out.
Thank you, Carol.
Sure. So the tree planting, Amy, is the next one.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think this is not our area. Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura. When you go on Route 7, and then where Rosendale comes in, and it's the top of Balltown, and there's that weird triangle where and there's some birches there.
Yeah.
And I've brought it up before, and over the last 3-4 years, and they're slowly dying. Well, now they're kind of
completely dead. I bring that up. Yeah, whenever I can, I bring it up.
That's not us, right? Is that county?
It's
That's
the
trying
state of New York.
the state.
Yeah.
So we don't have any sway or,
I brought it up with the highway department a couple times because we mow it, but it is the state, and I do think it's the state that did all those plantings, and so I think that they're hesitant to take them down because they're not the town's.
Mhm.
right. What about when they become hazard trees because they're heading that way? I mean, they're dead, they're already dead, and somebody already trimmed them because I can see that they've been cut. So they went
Really?
in. Yeah.
Well, so I think actually both the county and the state have like a hazard, like people can call and report hazard trees. I feel like I've talked to some guys from the state who were investigating a hazard tree question, and then the question was whether or not it was a town tree or a state tree, because they will not take it down if it's a town tree. Just the same way the town won't take it down if it's a state tree. So there is a way to report it, but I don't know. I mean, I would just Google it. I mean, if I was going to give you information, all I would be doing is Googling it. So, but there is a way to report hazard trees to the state.
Okay. I'm just saying, God forbid anything happens, it doesn't come liable back on the town of Niska, because it's been significant. It's been known that it's been dying for a while. I just want to be proactively, preventative. So God forbid nothing happens with, there's so much traffic coming around that little turnaround there. Okay. Thank you. And then, so with spring planting, so last time I told you the project that I'm doing, I'm using the computer generated stuff to look at all the red and orange areas, and I'm driving around slowly but surely to all the red and orange areas to see how much of a tree desert it is. And I had mentioned to you that sometimes the program doesn't indicate specific things, like it shows, hey, we don't have trees there, but sometimes we can't put trees there because there's not enough space or there's too many utilities. So I've been trying to note that. And so I think that by next meeting, we should probably pick, a final location based on that research that I'm doing, a final site for planting, kind of like what we did with Cornelius and Dean Street, and a neighborhood that could benefit from it. And one of the places that I thought would be really interesting is, when you go down where Providence comes across and then it goes up to the GE. Nope, I'm saying the wrong one. Yeah, where Providence meets, what is opposite Providence? So
River Road.
Yes, Providence into River Road. And then, but before you get to that intersection, there's that like CareNet building, and you go back in there, and it leads to a athletic park. It's either soccer or baseball back in there. I don't know the name of that. It goes behind
the soccer fields. Zenner soccer fields. Yeah.
And it goes behind the school.
Yeah.
Big school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What is the name of that street?
Zenner Road.
Zenner Road. So there's a lot of space there. It might be neat to go down that road and then get some on the school ground and then get some around the parking lot of the athletic field, because it's wide open. Now, I don't know, what areas. We don't want to restrict the sports at all by putting trees in the way that would impede whatever sports they're doing. But it's just so wide open and bare, and it would be really dramatic if we had one or two or three types of trees and kind of did this formal encircling. It could be quite cool. Plus, it would be an easy area to plant because we're not on a busy street. So you could have trucks there and you could have people there, and it could be a thing where we have the community come out. There's a lot of parking spaces, right? So the community could come out, they could help us plant. We could go back to our initial idea of this street barbecue thing where people are helping us. I don't know if that would work, but I really liked that area as a possible planting location.
Laura, is that park a town park, or is that Niska High School?
It is, well, the Xander soccer fields are a town park.
Mhm.
I think I'm not exactly sure how the right of way works there. Like if the school's like, grass strip is in the right of way or if it's on the school property. I'm not 100% sure about that. But I mean, we have looked at planting some trees out there. Actually, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the Niska Rotary wanted to donate trees all over there, and they ended up going down at the very end of the Xander soccer fields. Because I don't remember who said, but there's like telescopes that people
Yeah.
use.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you were telling me, right, Jonathan?
Yeah.
And we actually did plant a line of trees when not enough though. We could plant more when we put the bike path in associated with the bike path. We put some sugar maples and stuff over there. But they don't want trees between the fields, and then they don't want them over by the telescopes. So you could definitely do trees like going along the way, I think, but we've tried there a couple times, and there's been some reasons that the trees don't go over there.
Okay.
Like when you're on Xander and you're right by Craig School, so right on your left, it seems that would be a good to get a
Yes.
row.
I mean, and if
Yeah.
that's in the right of way,
Yeah.
you could put a ton of beautiful trees
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And
A
I'm
lot.
going with the elms again. I think any
Mhm.
place
I was
we
just
can find
thinking that.
elms.
We got like
Mhm.
50 of them coming this fall.
Well, that would be so dramatic.
Wouldn't that be
you know?
nice arching over the road?
So the elms at Blatnick Park are looking really good, although I think we need to mulch them again. But I think every single one of them is still alive, for the record.
Wow.
Oh, good. So do we
Okay.
know when the elms are coming, Laura? Is it spring or fall?
It's fall, so we're getting like 60 of them in the fall. 50 or
Okay, so we
60.
have to think ahead about that.
Yes,
so
we
that-
do.
When they come, we know where we want to put them. And because we won't have a lot of time.
Yeah, and I mean that's a lot of trees, obviously, for the highway department to plant. So
What
like
size are
having-
they going to be this time?
so they're growing them
They're
more.
bigger,
So I guess
right?
they were smaller last year, so they wanted
Yeah.
to hold on to them for one more year because they were supposed to be a certain height. Maybe they weren't yet, but they're bigger than the ones that we just planted. So
Okay.
I think we planted
Proposal.
like a 6 to 8, and these are going to be like 8 to 10 or
When
10
you
to
say the
12.
ones we just planted for Arbor Day?
No,
or the
sorry,
ones-
the ones we planted, the elms that we planted
Gotcha.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Those were the smallest ones. Then the
Okay.
next years were supposed to be like 8 to 10, and then these ones are supposed to be like 10 to 12. So I think we're
Okay.
going to be getting like 28 to 10, and then like
Wow.
25 or 30, 31, 10 to 12 maybe.
Wow.
So, because there's so many,
They're bare root though.
are they're bare root? 10 to 12 feet bare root?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're.
Are there any?
Oh, they came in a container. Did they come in a container? I can't remember now.
Is there I'll use club for a general term. Are there clubs that we could work with, like, Kiwanis, Rotary, Girl Scouts,
Boy
whatever?
Scout, yeah.
Yeah, that could do. I mean, that's 50 trees. That's a lot. That could do a project in their area for their club and it's kind of a donation in that area.
I don't think so, because the town buys these with their own money, and they're supposed to be like public trees. So to some extent, you can use volunteers to plant them, but you have to be careful because
So
mean, it was the highways department's choice to defer them. It's a lot of trees coming all at once, but if we prep the sites,
Right.
it'll be a lot of work, but we can do a lot of the work for them. But it's probably better to have the highway plant. It's really not a Girl Scout project. Even
Okay.
like when the Rotary, wanted to plant trees, they didn't plant them. They bought them and the highway department planted them. They're
Okay.
bigger trees.
So
Okay,
maybe
thank
this
you,
is our
Laura.
big project for this year versus doing another
Yeah.
neighborhood, Amy, since 60 trees we only did 40 at Dean Street, and look at how much
Oh yeah.
effort that was.
That was, yeah, that took quite a haul. So if I approach this differently, maybe I can be looking for neighborhoods and parks where we can disperse the 50 and it still be in our property and in our right of way. And maybe one of those is Zenner that could be one of the,
Right. And the other tree
Yeah.
council members, as you're driving around town, think we have 60 trees. If you can think of us, find a spot where we can use some. I think Amy would appreciate it. And,
Yeah.
we'd have
Hillside
some
Avenue.
options.
We
Oh,
are
Hillside
still-
Avenue.
We are still pretty naked over here,
Mhm,
Hmm.
yeah.
especially
Plus-
we on the more industrialized part of Hillside.
Plus, you guys in that section, we still have to deal with a loss of a lot of the old silver maples. So, and the elms are going to have that beautiful, huge, old arcing canopy that we're losing when we lose the silver maples. So we could also think about looking at some of those streets where we know the silver maples are going to be coming down in the next 4 or 5 years.
And two things, I think that's good for neighborhoods. We also know that it's easier to plant in parks, etc., where we don't have to get the homeowner's permission. So, we could maybe do a mixture, but I
will
know, Amy, that was a lot of work last year going up to the homeowners where,
Yeah.
at Blatnick Park, we just planted them all and that was an easier sell. So, I mean, we didn't have to worry about that. So think about that too, as we're looking at places.
Can we plant at the top hillside in front of that? Is it like an Army Reserve base or something like that?
I'm across the street from there.
Oh.
Actually, I'm technically across the street from the Automated Dynamics or whatever it's called now, Trelleborg something.
Mhm.
And I know that in the plans that we were originally shown, when they were contemplating building there, they're like, oh, there's going to be all these trees, and there's just not.
So it
At
sounds like
all.
we have a right to say we should be planting trees there.
Yeah, and I'm right across
Yeah.
the street, and I know that there was an elm when this house was built, but the guy who built it cut so far into the roots when doing that it was like it leafed mostly the first year, then the second year maybe 20% of it did, and then it was just dead and filled with carpenter ants. And then we also have like some conifers and stuff kind of dotting the place, but they're all in really awful health. They've either been trimmed to the bejesus because of the power lines,
Yeah, I saw.
or they're completely filled with carpenter ants. Like it's not, we are not in a healthy part of the street. And it is very, like, my ex-husband lives on Hoover. It is an entirely different town. His property values are entirely different. I have exactly zero shade. I have, no way to, take care of this place like that. There were bigger things here, but things got infested, or they weren't cared for properly, or they were cut weird. And then they wound up being unstable. My ex-husband being on Hoover, I will say though that the silver maple in front of his house, his street tree, when that last snow came in, that last little revenge of winter,
Mhm.
a huge branch came down and it was hollow. So those are maybe going a certain direction too. So I think both parts of this end of town might need a little love.
Well, we
So
can
I
put
did-
Hillside on the list.
Yes, I
think.
have already driven over there. That was one of the first sections I did by looking at the red, because on the computer generated program thing, it's a total desert, right? But it also looked to me like I couldn't tell if where we were allowed to plant and where we couldn't because of the business. So what is private property and what is not? Because back into their entranceways, there should be trees back there, but I don't think that's town right of way too.
And Laura, are we getting, in addition to these 60 elms, usually we have a certain number of street trees that we can plant, that we get in the fall that,
Yeah, well, so we have those for the spring. And if you guys read the minutes, and we talked about them at the last minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I can't remember exactly how many I said we have.
Yeah, the Katsura and the,
There's a decent amount of them, and so they need to be picked up and decided where to be planted probably as soon as possible.
So we have them, but they haven't been planted. Is that?
Well, they're at the nursery, but the nurseries start to get frustrated with us if they stay there for too long and they're supposed to be planted. They wouldn't hold on them to the fall. So we should get those soon so it doesn't get so hot before we plant them too.
Okay.
And how many of those are there? I'm sorry.
So
There was Katsura,
ginkgo.
ginkgo. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head.
And do we decide, or did the town highway department have ideas of where they were needed?
10
Tupelo,
trees.
Tupelo, right?
Yeah, Tupelo. Yeah, 10 trees. So it was 3 ginkgos, 2 katsura, 2 Tupelo, and Zelkovas.
Zelkovas.
I think they'll let us choose where they want to go. those are our babies. So we have to decide where we want to put them. And I had identified, and I still haven't reached out to them. The church on Morrow could probably take like the ginkgos or the Zelkovas. No, wait, which ones are the big ones, Amy? Katsuras?
Katsuras are
Yeah,
big.
Katsuras.
For the ginkgos, do we know if we've got females or males?
I think we always specify that
Yeah,
you can't have females.
There aren't females available in the trade, really. It's males.
Yeah.
So when I went to Fordham, they built this brand new, ridiculously expensive library and the landscaping, and it's in the Bronx. So ginkgos are good with a high pollution area, and they planted ginkgos and they planted females. And what an awful stench. It was just all of these beautiful brand new walkways slick with rotting fruit.
Yeah, that doesn't happen so much now because they're, forgive the word, sexed in the trade, so you know which ones are which.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because at least back then, very expensive mistakes were made.
Yeah.
Well, the pear trees.
We had one of those outside our department at Union too. Every fall, people would walk all over it. It smelled like some playground that had birth there the night before. Yeah.
The people who planted at Fordham are like, it's fine. We're just planting females, so it's good. They're wind pollinated, and it's not like there weren't plenty more in the Bronx because everybody thought, oh, these guys are good with pollution. We're gonna plant them. So
Well, it sounds like we have enough trees that we can plant. I mean, that's 70 trees. So
I'm
don't
terrified.
worry, I'll take one of them off your hands and into the
So yeah. So we should work on the 10 immediately.
Yeah.
And then everybody keep your eyes open when you're driving around town as to where 60 elm, if you have places for elms. So where it would make sense.
When Amy was first talking about the hillside, I thought she meant down to the bottom of the hillside because it looks like that area it's been emptied of trees.
I was looking at the top. That's one of the first places.
Right. Amy Lamena was saying, I thought you went to live down low because there's a big area down there without trees. But
So maybe we can make that for next month, if people, or even, between now and then, if you have ideas to send them out to the council so we can, start collecting where we can plant trees. So
yeah, and feel free to text me or email me, because then I can go to the site and double check.
Okay. So Amy, anything else for the tree planting?
That's it.
Okay. Anything else from folks? Then I think if somebody wants to make a motion, we can adjourn the meeting. Amy Lamena made a motion. Anyone wants to second? John seconded. Oh, and so thanks everyone. Thanks. And thanks again for the Arbor Day help. I think we needed all hands on deck for that because John has something.
Laura, I just want the picture you sent me is just a touch over 2 megabytes. You got a very simple way of
Yeah, you need me to make it smaller. I'll do that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you guys. Good seeing you.
Bye.
Good night.